Hi everyone, I'm Helen from Susan's family. Today, I'll show you the wealth-attracting toy, the Maneki Neko version. It is divided into two main sections, the main part and the decorations. First, we'll make the main part. After completing it, we'll make and attach the decorations. For the main part, it includes the feet, the body, hands, head, and tail. We'll work on them in order, starting from the bottom and moving upwards. Finally, we'll assemble everything. Let's start by making the feet. There are two of them. The method for making both is the same. We'll use a foundation chain to start, then work around the foundation chain. Let's see the chart. In the chart, our plus number indicates the round number. The stitch instructions column describes the stitches and increases or decreases. When working the current round, the total stitches column shows the total number of stitches after completing that round. The stitches used include CH, chain, X stitch single crochet, V, SC 2 in 1, W, SC 3 in 1, A, SC 2 tog, and slip stitch. Below, please watch as I demonstrate the specific crochet method. It's not easy to see the stitches clearly when crocheting with the original yarn. For convenience in watching, I will use chunky yarn for the demonstration, and the colors are random. You all can first learn the crochet technique by following the tutorial, or practice using yarn that makes it easier to see the stitches clearly. Then, crochet using the original yarn. Here, for specific yarn, the color schemes and hook sizes. You can refer to the detail page of our product and the charts. Start with a foundation chain. Then crochet 4 chains. After completing the crocheting with the original yarn here, it will look like this. The braid-like texture might not be very noticeable, so you can poke it with the needle. And there will be 4 holes. Pay attention, the last loop is not included. If there are no issues, the foundation chain is complete. The chart shows Dow 2. This means you start crocheting from the second to last chain. Count 2 stitches from the right to the left. 1, 2. Similarly, with the original yarn, poke through the hole at the position of the second hole, which is the second to last stitch. Here, pick up the top strand of the chain braid. Crochet 1 X stitch single crochet. All following single crochets will be X stitch single crochets. From now on, I'll simply refer to them as single crochets. Insert into the corresponding position. When crocheting with the original yarn, if the braids are too hard to see, you can directly insert through the hole instead. Place the hook above the yarn. Yarn over and draw through. Yarn over again, and pull through the loops on the hook. Complete the single crochet. Move to the adjacent chain and pick up 1 strand on the top of the braid. Crochet 1 single crochet. For the following stitches, work SC 3 in 1. Pick up 1 strand on the top of the chain. Crochet 3 single crochets in one position. First stitch. Second stitch. Third stitch. Complete the SC 3 in 1. Then rotate the piece. Pick up the other side of the stitch and go back to crochet. Here, start by picking up the adjacent braid. Be mindful not to pick up the spot where the 3 single crochets are placed. Pick up the other 2 strands of the chain. This is also the insertion point for the stitch pattern on this side. Crochet 1 single crochet. If you can't find the exact position in the original version, just insert the hook into an approximate corresponding position. You can place the starting yarn tail above the hook. Crochet the edge while weaving the yarn tail. Continue to pick up 2 strands from the adjacent stitch. Work a SC2 in 1. Make 2 single crochets in one position. 1 stitch. 2 stitches. Complete the SC2 in 1. At this point, you finished the stitch pattern in the chart. Everyone, check your stitch count. You've crocheted 8 single crochets in this round. You can simply count the stitches here. The last loop doesn't count as 1 stitch. Pick up the first single crochet and work a slip stitch. The slip stitch is not indicated in the chart. When crocheting in rounds, always finish by joining with a slip stitch. And remember, the slip stitch doesn't count as 1 stitch. Make sure to pull tight. At this point, the first round is completed. Let's take a look at the result of the first round using the original yarn. The stitches along the edge will have small gaps like this. Below each gap, there is a little hole. Insert your hook into the position of the hole. Pick up the yarn above, it's 1 stitch. When picking up stitches to insert your hook later, you'll be inserting it into these little holes. When finishing with a slip stitch and locating the first stitch, you can count the stitches from back to front. When counting the stitches here, count the small gaps. This is the first stitch. You can connect with a slip stitch at this point. After completing it, make sure to tighten as well, then move on to crochet the second round. I will continue demonstrating with the thick yarn. Start with 1 chain. The beginning chain isn't marked in the chart here. In actual crocheting in rounds with single crochets, you need to make a beginning chain at the start of each round, and the beginning chain doesn't count as 1 stitch. Pick up the stitches below and work a SC2 in 1. That is, insert your hook into the spot where the slip stitch was worked in the previous round. If you're using the original yarn for crocheting, it might be a bit difficult to find the position of the first stitch. You can place a stitch marker after completing the first stitch. Use it to mark the stitch. The yarn I'm using here has clear stitches, so I won't mark it. Continue working the SC2 in 1 downward until you finish. You can weave the starting tail inside the piece here. For the original yarn, you can leave the yarn tail. The side with the yarn tail will be the wrong side of the piece. Later, pick up the stitches. Work 1 single crochet into each stitch correspondingly. Work 3 SC2 in 1. Work 1 single crochet. 2 SC2 in 1. After finishing, check the stitch count. If everything is fine, slip stitch into the first stitch. Pull tight. The second round is complete. Next, work on the third round. Start with 1 chain. Then work 1 single crochet. Continue picking up stitches in the adjacent ones. Work 1 SC2 in 1 correspondingly. Work 1 single crochet. Moving forward, the chart will be X, V, times 3. The parentheses here indicate a group, times a number indicates the number of times to repeat the pattern. First, pick up a stitch to the left and work 1 single crochet. Work 1 SC2 in 1. Now, you've completed 1 group inside the parentheses. Continue crocheting 2 more groups below. One group. Two groups. After completing, continue with 1 single crochet. Next, the chart shows parentheses again. It has the same meaning as before. For the stitches inside the parentheses, repeat the group for the corresponding number of times. Here it says times 2, so you repeat it twice. After finishing, you can check the stitch count. I won't remind you repeatedly moving forward. Next, on the first single crochet, pick up the stitch and join with a slip stitch. Pull tight. The third round is complete. Continue with the fourth and fifth rounds. Just follow the chart to work the corresponding stitches. For the start of each round, make 1 chain. At the end, join with a slip stitch on the first stitch. Finish these 2 rounds. After completing, start crocheting the 6th round. You'll need to carry the yarn across at the start. First, enlarge the loop on the hook. Pull the skein or piece through from the inside. Gently tighten it slightly. Then refer to the chart. Locate the 17th stitch of the previous round. Pick up that stitch and insert your hook. Bring the yarn over at this point. Yarn over and draw through. Adjust the tension of the yarn afterward. Ensure it is level with the edge of the piece. This completes carrying the yarn across. Make 1 beginning chain to start. Then work 3 single crochets. Begin crocheting from the position where you carried the yarn across. At the same time, weave in the yarn tail of the carried strand. You can gently pull to tighten the carried yarn slightly. then chain 5. Next, pick up the 16th stitch from the previous round. This is the stitch right after the carried yarn on the right side. Pick up that stitch and make 1 single crochet. Here, place the chain behind the work, do not wrap it in. Continue picking up stitches, and work 4 single crochets correspondingly. When you encounter the yarn tail from the previous carried strand, wrap it in as you crochet. After completing, chain 7. Then locate the 15th stitch from the previous round. This is next to the first single crochet on the right side. Pick up this stitch and insert your hook. Again, place the chain behind the work. Work 7 single crochets correspondingly. After completing, crochet 9 chains. Find the position of the 13th stitch from the previous round. This is on the right side of the 7 single crochets. At a position separated by 1 stitch. Insert your hook and work 1 SC2 tog. First, pick up the corresponding stitch for the single crochet, work an unclosed single crochet, yarn over and pull through. There will be 2 loops remaining on your hook. This is the unclosed single crochet. Continue to pick up the adjacent stitch, and work an unclosed single crochet. Now there will be 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and draw through all loops. This completes the SC2 tog. Next, pick up stitches moving to the left, work 7 single crochets, corresponding 1 by 1. Then, work 1 SC2 tog. First, create 2 unclosed single crochets. Finally, yarn over and pull through all loops. This completes the SC2 tog. Next, work 11 chains. Locate the position of the 11th stitch from the previous round. This is the spot right after the first SC2 tog on the right side. Skip 1 stitch. Insert the hook from right to left and work 2 SC2 tog. Then work 5 single crochets. Follow with 2 SC2 tog. Work 11 chains again. Find the position of the 10th stitch from the previous round, that is, the stitch right after the first SC2 tog. Insert the hook and work 1 single crochet. Then follow the chart to crochet as indicated, moving to the left. Finish with the last stitch. At this point, pick up the adjacent stitch. Work a slip stitch to join. Pull tight. The 6th round is now completed. Next, start the 7th round. For this round, change colors. First, fasten off the previous color. Crochet 1 chain to secure. Leave a little yarn tail. Cut the yarn. Pull tight. In this round, the chart shows flow. This means working into the front loop only of the stitch. Here, each stitch has 2 strands. The strand closer to you is the front loop. The strand farther away is the back loop. On the original yarn, find a small gap. The strand in front of the gap is the front loop. The other strand is the back loop. At the first single crochet position, pick up the front loop and join the yarn. Make a slip knot with the yarn. Draw it through with the hook. Adjust slightly. Place both yarn tails above the working yarn. Chain 1 to start. In the same position, crochet 1 single crochet. While crocheting, pay attention to weaving in the yarn tail. For the adjacent stitch, pick up the front loop. Crochet 1 SC2 in 1. Now you have completed one group of stitches in parentheses. Continue picking up the front loops as you move down. Crochet the corresponding stitch pattern from the chart. Finish with the last single crochet. Insert the hook into the first stitch, and join with a slip stitch. Pull tight. The 7th round is completed. At this point, 1 foot is crocheted. Break the yarn. Leave the yarn tail for now without dealing with it. Continue in the same way to crochet another foot. Crochet the second foot using the same method. After finishing, break the yarn again. Complete the second foot on your own. That concludes the explanation for crocheting the feet. Next, We will crochet the body. Start by connecting the 2 feet together, then work in rounds upwards. During this process, some positions will require a color change. Please watch me demonstrate. Pick up both feet. Make sure the side where the piece bulges outward is facing right. If the shape here isn't very clear, you can stuff it with an appropriate amount of stuffing. Fluff up the stuffing before adding it. Don't use too much. Once the piece looks round and firmly stuffed, it's good to go. Next, take the 2 toe parts and bring them slightly closer inward. You can check by facing them toward yourself. It should be in a position similar to pigeon-toed. Then, on the right foot at this moment, locate the stitch that is roughly centered on the inner side. Note that crochet tension may vary from person to person, so the exact position isn't fixed. You can use the stitch where you previously broke the yarn. You can also choose the stitch just to the left or right of where you broke the yarn, as long as the 2 toes are tucked inward and the shape resembles a pigeon-toed effect, it's fine. Insert into the corresponding position. Then pick up the yarn. For convenience in watching, I'll demonstrate with another color. Make a slip knot with the yarn. Pull it through and adjust slightly. Then crochet 2 chains. Connect to the other foot. Here, locate the stitch insertion point. Find the symmetrical position on this side. You can use the stitch pattern as a guide. Then pick up the stitches and correspondingly work 3 single crochets. Adjacently make 1 SC2 in 1. Complete 1 group of stitches in parentheses. Continue and work 2 more groups. Afterwards, work 16 single crochets in sequence. If you encounter a previous yarn tail during this process, weave it while crocheting. After completing, move down to the position of the chains. Here, pick up the braid of the chains. At this point, the backside of the chains will be facing you. Pick up the topmost strand and work 1 SC2 in 1. Adjacently continue by picking up the topmost strand of the next chain. Work another SC2 in 1. Continue in this manner with adjacent chains. Afterwards, start from the previous yarn joining position. Refer to the chart to pick up stitches, and crochet the corresponding stitch pattern. Weave the yarn tail while crocheting. Finally, reach the position of the chains. Here, pick up the insertion point for this side stitch. Pick up the remaining 2 strands of the chain. Crochet a SC2 in 1. Adjacently continue by picking up the remaining side of the next chain. Crochet another SC2 in 1. Then, pick up the first single crochet. Join with a slip stitch. Pull tight. Now, let's take a look at the result. The 2 legs form an inward curling state. If the result isn't satisfactory, you can rejoin the yarn at a proper position and crochet again. This completes the first round. For the following rounds 2 to 7, simply refer to the chart and continue crocheting the corresponding stitches. For rounds 2 to 3, the chart indicates evenly 70x. It means starting from the second round, 1 stitch corresponds to crocheting 1 single crochet. Each round has 70 stitches. Continue until the end of the third round. For any similar format later on, the meaning will be the same as this. Note, at the beginning of each round, make 1 chain. At the end, join with a slip stitch on the first stitch. Finish these rounds. After completion, start crocheting the 8th round. For this round, you need to crochet using 2 colors. Start with the previous color, make a beginning chain, then work 8 single crochets evenly. Next, crochet a SC2 tog. After that, continue working 19 single crochets evenly. Then, you need to crochet another SC2 tog. The following stitches will be red stitches. You need to change colors here, so, switch colors while crocheting the SC2 tog. First, work 2 unclosed single crochets. At this point, pick up the color you need to switch to. Hang the yarn with your left hand. Leave a little yarn tail below, place it at the back. Then, yarn over, and draw through all loops on the hook once. This completes the SC2 tog. It also finishes the color change. For the convenience of explanation, I will call the starting color color 1. The switched color is color 2. Then, use color 2 to work. Correspondingly make 10 single crochets. For the last stitch, you need to change colors. First, work 9 single crochets. Here, color 1 will still be needed later. As you crochet, bring the yarn along the edge. Weave the short yarn tail of color 2 while crocheting. When you reach the position of the 10th stitch, change color. Here, work a single crochet and change colors. First, make an unclosed single crochet. Then, pick up color 1. Here, stretch it slightly. Keep the piece flat. Yarn over and pull through. Complete the single crochet. The color change is also done. Continue crocheting with color 1. No color change afterward. Place color 2 back in position. Continue crocheting according to the chart and corresponding stitches. You can weave the previous yarn tail while crocheting. Finish the last stitch. Join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Pull tight. The 8th round is complete. Continue with the 9th round. Refer to the chart first. Stop crocheting right before the red stitches. There is 1 stitch left to reach the position. You have now reached the corresponding position. Here, you need to switch to color 2 for crocheting. This is where you crochet a single crochet and change colors. Start with an unclosed single crochet, then bring color 2 through. Yarn over and pull through. Make a small adjustment. Pull the yarn so it matches up with the edge of the piece. Here you complete the single crochet and color change. Next, work 12 single crochets evenly. Change colors on the 12th stitch. Note that color 1 will still be needed later. As you crochet, carry the yarn along. At the same time, weave in the strand of color 2 that was brought through. You have now reached the corresponding stitch. This is where you crochet a single crochet and change colors. Pay attention to stretch the piece slightly before changing colors. Stretch the yarn as well. Keep the piece flat. After completing, use only color 1 for crocheting. Place color 2 back in its original position. Continue crocheting by referring to the chart. Finally, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Pull tight. The 9th round is now complete. Move on to crochet the 10th round. First, refer to the chart. Crochet up to the red stitches as indicated. There is 1 stitch left in this position. You have reached the corresponding position. Crochet a single crochet and change colors. Then, use color 2 for crocheting. Wrap the carried marks while working. Bring color 1 along as you crochet. Crochet up to the last stitch of the red stitches. Change color here. Here, work a SC2 tog and change colors. After completing, place color 2 back in its original position. Continue crocheting with color 1. Finish the last stitch. Join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Pull tight. The 10th round is completed. For the remaining rounds, follow the previous method. Use color 2 for the red stitches section. When there is 1 stitch left before the red stitches, change colors. When you reach the last stitch of the red stitches, change colors. Before changing colors, make sure to stretch the yarn. Keep the piece flat. Refer to the chart for the remaining rounds, and complete the crocheting. After finishing, tidy up the yarn tails. Here, I will demonstrate using a sample. First, fasten off color 1. Then, leave a long tail for color 2 and fasten it off. Then weave the yarn tail inside the piece. You can weave in a few more stitches if you like. For the other yarn end, weave it inside the piece using the same method. You can finish this on your own. Lastly, stuff in an appropriate amount of filling. The amount is up to you. Just make sure the piece is evenly and firmly stuffed. Complete this step by yourself. That concludes the crocheting for the body. Next, we will crochet the hands. They are divided into the left hand and the right hand. The left and right here refer to the toy's own left and right sides. While crocheting, you'll need to change colors. Start by crocheting the left hand first. Use the magic ring method. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise. Watch as I demonstrate. Begin with a magic ring. Here, we use an adjustable magic ring. Then crochet the first round. Make 1 chain. Next, pick up the stitch and work 6 single crochets into the ring. After completing, close the ring. Simply pull tight the starting tail of the yarn. This will tighten the ring. Finally, slip stitch into the first stitch. Pull tight. The first round is complete. Continue to crochet the second round. First, make a beginning chain. Then pick up the stitches. Work SC2 in 1 evenly. While crocheting, pay attention to weaving in the yarn tails. After completing, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Pull tight. For now, leave the remaining yarn tails unattended. The second round is complete. Continue crocheting the third round. Simply follow the chart for crocheting. After completion, the piece here will be a little uneven. Turn the piece so the right side is facing out. The side with the starting yarn tail is the wrong side. Then join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Pull tight. The third round is complete. You can cut off the remaining yarn tail from the foundation chain here, or you can leave it inside directly, for the following 4th to 16th rounds. Simply refer to the chart and crochet accordingly. Make sure to switch colors during the process. Refer to the last round of the foot for the method of changing colors. Here, inserting the hook into the stitches from the previous round. Also, since the piece is small while crocheting, you need to stuff as you go. When the opening becomes smaller, you can use scissors to help with the stuffing. Let me demonstrate the technique. I'll show the method using this sample here. Be careful when you're working on it. This is the method for stuffing when the opening is small. After completing, crochet the last round. Here, you need to flatten the piece and crochet it. Follow the yarn tail, and pinch the opening flat. Then, make one chain. Pick up the stitches from the edges in front and back. Pick the first stitch and the last stitch. At the same time, insert the hook and work one single crochet. Continue picking up the adjacent stitches. Insert the hook and work a single crochet. Continue crocheting using this method. Finish with the last stitch. Leave a 15 cm yarn tail, and cut the yarn. At this point, the left hand is completed. Next, I will explain the right hand. The making method is similar to the left hand. There's just a slight difference when flattening and crocheting the last round. Please refer to the chart first. Crochet until you reach the position of the last round. During this process, pay attention to changing colors and stuffing as you go. Here, I'll demonstrate the method with a small sample. Pinch the opening flat. The first stitch position is located at the center here. This side of the piece that protrudes corresponds to the pinched side. Then carry the yarn first. Insert the hook into the two stitch positions on the edge. Yarn over and draw the yarn through. Make one beginning chain to start. Correspondingly, make one single crochet. Then continue to the left, crocheting corresponding single crochets. After completing, check again. The pinched side should correspond to the protruding end of the hand. Finally, cut the yarn. Leave a 15 cm yarn tail. That concludes the explanation for the right hand crocheting. At this point, the entire hand section has been covered. Next, we will crochet the head. Use the magic ring technique as before. Crochet in rounds. During this process, some positions require a color change. The method for changing colors is the same as for the body section. However, in some rounds, there are 2 color change positions within one round. I'll demonstrate the method as we move forward. First, refer to the chart and complete the first 9 rounds. I have already finished crocheting these rounds. Next, we will crochet round 10. Start by crocheting with the current color, until you reach just before the red stitches on the chart. There will be 1 stitch remaining before the color change. When you reach the corresponding position, switch colors. I'll refer to the first color as color 1. The second color will be color 2. Crochet a single crochet and change to color 2 here. Then, when you reach the red stitch position on the chart, use color 2 for crocheting. Note that the red stitch only involves 1 single crochet here, so you will need to switch back to color 1 while crocheting. Correspondingly crochet and change colors as indicated. Pay attention, weave the yarn tail while crocheting. After completing, continue crocheting with color 1. Crochet until there is 1 stitch left before the red stitch section. Place the current color 2 in position for now. Weave the short yarn tail while crocheting. When you reach the corresponding position, crochet a single crochet and switch to color 2 here. There are 2 yarn tails in one skein. One on the surface, and one at the center. Use the other yarn tail of color 2 for the color change. Afterward, crochet only 1 stitch for the red stitch section. Crochet and switch back to color 1. After completing, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Pull tight. The 10th round is now complete. Continue to crochet the 11th round. Crochet until there is 1 stitch left before the red stitch section. Place color 2 in position for now. Weave the short yarn tail while crocheting. When you reach the corresponding position, crochet a single crochet and switch to color 2 here. After completing, use color 2 for only 1 stitch. Crochet correspondingly and switch back to color 1. Then continue using color 1. Crochet until you reach one stitch before the next red stitch section. Stop at the position where there is one stitch left before the red stitch. Place color 2 in position for now. At the corresponding position, switch to the other side's color 2. Use color 2 for the last stitch here. Also, the first stitch of the next round will use color 2 as well, so there's no need to switch to color 1 here, but you still need to carry color 1 while crocheting. Crochet correspondingly. Finally, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Pull tight. Round 11 is now completed. Next, crochet round 12. Continue with color 2 from the previous round. Start with a beginning chain, then crochet 1 single crochet using color 2. Next comes color 1. Crochet the single crochet here and switch to color 1. After that, place color 2 back in position. Continue crocheting by referring to the chart. Keep going until one stitch before the next red stitch. When you reach the corresponding position, change colors. Continue crocheting all the way through with color 2. Switch to color 1 for the last stitch. Pay attention to weaving the carried marks, and color 1 while crocheting the edge. Use color 1 for the remaining stitches going forward. Crochet all the way until one stitch before the next red stitch. When you reach the corresponding position, change colors. Continue crocheting by following the chart. For the last stitch, take a look. The next round will still start with color 2 here. Don't switch colors on the last stitch, just crochet as usual. Join with the first stitch using a slip stitch at the end. Pull tight. Round 12 is completed. For rounds 13 to 16, follow the color changes and crocheting method of the first 3 rounds accordingly, starting from round 17, and for the remaining part, crochet using color 2 as the ending yarn. After completing 16 rounds, the middle section of color 2 and color 1, leave a long yarn tail and break the yarn. Weave the yarn tails inside the piece. Then, using color 2 as the ending yarn, continue crocheting the remaining parts. After finishing, leave an appropriate length of yarn before breaking it. Next, stuff the piece with an appropriate amount of stuffing. Refer to the chart, and crochet the rest of the sections. At this point, the crocheting for the head is complete. Next, we will discuss the tail. Start with a magic ring as well. Crochet in rounds. You'll need to change colors during the process. The methods used here have all been demonstrated before. Just refer to the chart and crochet accordingly. Similarly, stuff the piece with an appropriate amount of stuffing while crocheting. At the end, leave an appropriate yarn tail for closing the opening and sewing. Here, I will demonstrate the method for closing the opening. Here, I'm demonstrating with a small sample. First, thread the reserved yarn into a needle. Then pick up the last round. Insert the needle into the front loop of each stitch. Do this sequentially. Finally, pull the yarn tight. Then tie a knot with the adjacent position and secure it. That's how you close the opening. Here, the yarn tail is reserved. It will be used for sewing later. That concludes the explanation of making the tail. Next, we'll assemble everything. First, assemble the head to the body. Then attach the hands and the tail afterward. Let me explain how to assemble the head and the body first. Here, the opening of the head matches with the opening of the body. The centered positions of the two color change areas should correspond. After that, you can secure a few points with yarn. Here, I'll demonstrate the method using a small sample. Follow the method explained earlier. Make sure the positions are matched up correctly, then start at the front. Secure the center stitch of the color change area. You can actually use cotton yarn for this step. It's easier to see while working, and it's also simpler to remove afterward. I'll demonstrate using a different color of thick yarn. Cut a long piece of yarn. Thread it into a sewing needle. Then locate the center stitch at the color change point. Tie a knot to secure it in place. Next, move to the back. Follow the same method. Locate and secure the center stitch. If you have an even number on the back, just secure any one stitch on either side. But make sure the positions of the two secured stitches roughly correspond. Then, using the same method, find a few more points on the sides to secure them. This makes sewing more convenient. Complete this step on your own. After you've finished securing, check if the position of the head corresponds to the body. Ensure they align properly. And place it in the correct orientation. Then adjust the secured positions based on the actual situation. Since the stitches may tilt to one side during the crocheting process, you can adjust the secured positions accordingly. It's fine if the stitch counts on both sides don't match perfectly. Next, I'll demonstrate the sewing method. Use the tail left from the head. Then pick up two corresponding stitches from the edges of the pieces. Roughly match and sew together. There's no strict requirement for the method, just make sure it's secure and looks good. You can remove the ending securing thread first. Everyone, pay attention to checking the position while sewing. Make sure not to sew crooked. Continue with the same method. Finish the rest of the seams. If you encounter a securing thread during the process, you can remove it. After completing, tie a few knots with the thread at an adjacent position. Then weave it inside the piece. You can weave a few more stitches if you like. This way, the head and body are assembled. Next, assemble the hands. Place them on the sides of the body, below the head. Arrange them in left to right order. Here, place one end of the ending horizontally. This is the position and effect for assembling the hands. You can also make adjustments according to your preference. Here, I'll demonstrate the method with a sample. I'll start with the right hand. Thread the reserved yarn into a yarn needle. Then place it horizontally at the corresponding position. Here, pick up the approximate corresponding position on the body, and sew together one end of the hand's tail. There's no strict requirement for the method, as long as it's secure and looks nice. After completing, tie off the thread and secure it. You can tie a few extra knots for added security. Then weave in the remaining yarn tail into the piece. You can weave it for a few extra stitches if needed. That's how you attach the right hand. Use the same method for the left hand. Attach it horizontally. Here, the side where the hand protrudes should face inward. The position should be symmetrical to the right hand. You can complete this step on your own. Finally, attach the tail. Match the closed end with the back of the body at the position of rows 8-9. Place it in a relatively centered position. Here, the side of the tail with the color change should face up. Position it vertically. The tail also has a slight angle, with its more protruding side aligned with the head. Then use the reserved yarn to pick up and sew a few stitches on this side. After that, tie a knot with the remaining yarn, and weave it inside the piece. Everyone can finish this part on their own. Next, at the position of rounds 4-5 on the tail, match it with the corresponding position on the head for sewing. Sew the position where the tail corresponds to the head right now. Use the color that matches the head at this point for sewing. Take a long yarn tail, then pick up and sew the adjacent positions on the piece. Start by leaving a little yarn tail. Finally, bring the yarn to the starting yarn tail position. Tie a double knot with the 2 yarn tails to secure them. Weave the remaining yarn tails and knots inside the piece. Everyone can finish this step on their own. This way, the tail is attached. At this point, the entire main part has been fully explained.